Today we're talking about something that can seem very daunting, but it doesn't have to be, and that is owning a rental property. Melissa, tell us all about it.
Sure. So, you might want to think about purchasing a rental unit, whether you're going to live in it and have some supplemental income or you're doing it as a full investor. There's lots of pros, a couple of cons to owning rental properties, but it can be a great way to afford more because some of that rental income will count as your income. So it boosts your price point, which is a nice perk of it.
And it makes a big difference if you live in it or not live in it?
Yeah, so if you're going to be a live-in owner and it's 4 units or less, you can get the most desirable loan terms. You can often have a really low down payment, sometimes as low as 3.5%. And now your tenant is helping pay your mortgage. Usually 75% of the rent is going to count as income to you, so it'll definitely put you in a higher price point. For an investor, it's a little more complicated if it's going to be all investment, and you are going to need a bigger down payment for that.
And what role do the tenants play in the financing?
Well, like I said, you get part of their rent as your income. But, it does, and a lender will look at what the potential rent is versus maybe what the actual rent is, or even if it's vacant, they will look at what the future rent will be, and they will still count that. But the difference is if you buy a 2-flat or a 4-unit with tenants already in place, the income is coming to you on day one. Now, you may not like those tenants, you didn't get to pick them, and you are probably getting less than market rent, but it is coming to you right away. If the apartment's building is completely vacant when you buy it, you can pick who you want, but you have to strategize for at least 1 month of vacancy, probably maybe more if it's December or something. And then, then you'll get your money coming in. So you just have to make sure you know when you're going to start getting some income from the property.
Will it always be rented? Do I need to plan for vacancies somewhere along the way?
Yes, actually the lenders take that into consideration too. Right now, the vacancy rate in Chicagoland is very low, but that will change. So I really encourage people to think about what if I had to go 2 or 3 months without some income? Can I do that? And also, your tenants are going to want things repaired when they break. You might be willing to go without a stove for 2 weeks if it's your house, but your tenants are not going to do that. So you definitely have to have a little extra capital if you're going to own a rental property so you're ready to make repairs when they become necessary.
I see. So there are rules and things that you need to pay attention to if you're going to be a landlord.
Yes, everybody is subject to fair housing law. I mean, if you are an owner-occupant in a smaller building, it's true you can avoid some of the rules around fair housing, but not all of them. So it's best just to pay attention to all of that. And then on top of that, you have whatever your municipal laws are. There's Cook County rules, and in Chicago, there's the residential landlord tenant ordinance, which really favors the tenants. So you really need to be aware of those rules. I would say the 2 biggest things I like to stress are there's a lot of new rules about how you give notice to your tenants that you're not going to renew their lease or you're going to increase their rent. And you have to follow those carefully and give the proper amount of notice. And then the other one is security deposits. A lot of landlords just don't take security deposits anymore. They are moving to move-in fees so they don't have to deal with all those rules. So that's a choice you have to make. If it is a building you live in and it's under 4 units or 4 units or less, you technically do not have to fall into the residential landlord tenant ordinance. So you don't have to be quite as stressed out about security deposits in that situation.
I see. And there are some new laws in Chicago, right, that are coming on about gentrification?
Yes, there is some new rules around gentrification. Really one in particular right now, the Northwest Housing Ordinance, Housing Preservation Ordinance. And that pertains to certain neighborhoods on the northwest side of Chicago, mostly Logan, Humboldt, Avondale, couple other neighborhoods along the 606, which is this really attractive bike and above ground park. But, and there's some talk of doing this in some other neighborhoods, but this is the pilot rule that we're going with right now. So if you have or are looking for properties in those areas, I would definitely reach out to me first. There are some rules that you need to understand about notice, and it is going to impact the future sale a little bit.
So lots of things to pay attention to, lots of things to be careful of, but it's manageable, right? It's possible to be a landlord. It's not all grief, is it?
No, actually, I've owned several rental properties and it's really been a positive experience across the board. The first building we bought, we only lived there for about 1.5 years, and then we actually had enough income and equity to rent that building completely and move to another property. And I still own that building. It's still giving me rental income. You just have to be aware of what the rules are. But if you think about it, you're purchasing the property, you're collecting rents while you're paying down your mortgage, and the property value is increasing. So by the end of it, you could actually be in a really good situation where you have no mortgage, your tenants are paying most of your expenses or more than your expenses, and your property's appreciated. The other benefit is the tax benefits, which are real, especially if you're self-employed like me. I mean, everything's a write-off in a rental property. All the utilities, the advertising fees, cost to upgrade or do repairs, even some of your real estate taxes and insurance are write-offs. If you keep good records, you could have a lot of write-offs from that. Plus, talk to your accountant. You're getting depreciation, which is a nice bonus. So the one downside is when you go to sell those rental properties, you are going to pay capital gains on them. So you do need to prepare for that. If you're a live-in owner, you might just pay it on a portion of the property, but it's definitely best to talk to an accountant about all of those things and just figure out the best strategy.
So how do you know if a rental property is the best situation for you to buy?
Well, I think it actually is kind of similar to looking for a place you're going to live in the sense that, the location matters. Is it near public transportation? Is there parking? Is the neighborhood nice? What are the rents you want to collect versus the cost of the building? Is that all going to work out? You can think about some things like, do you want to take pets or not? And all these things will make a difference in figuring out what the best value is for you when looking at a rental property.
How do you know if you'd make a good landlord? What kind of people are good landlords?
Well, that is a good question. It's not for everybody. I will say that. I mean, I think aside from just being a little bit flexible, I do like to encourage people to remember it is a business that you're running, okay? You don't want to get too friendly with your tenants. That actually can really backfire because ultimately if you have to make a difficult decision and you're friends with these people, it can be really painful for everybody involved. So keep it businessy, keep it kind of like formal, but having said that, I've had some tenants that I have loved. But you can, as long as you're willing to work with people and follow the rules and keep some record keeping is really important, you will probably have a good experience.
This has been great. So if somebody wanted to learn more about how to get into this, how do they reach you?
You can go to Art House Chicago and you can find out all about how to reach out to me for more information.
Excellent. Good tips. I hope people found this helpful and we'll see you next time.